The spoilers for One Piece chapter 1155 have just been released, and I'm still trying to process everything that was revealed. So this chapter does give us a lot of background lore on Xebec as well as the history of One Piece. Without spoiling too much, we're going to be diving deep into the past of the Rocks pirates, and let me tell you that this man, Xebec, was absolutely unhinged. This is someone who had the audacity to break into Mary-Jo and do things that should have been impossible. Also, we get to see the legendary clash between Rocks and King Harold, which has been hinted at in prior chapters. Oda also did an incredible job of introducing us to new members of the Rocks pirates. The spoilers for this chapter reveal that it ends on a strong note, and I genuinely think that we're about to get one of the most epic flashback arcs in all of One Piece. So without further delay, let's dive into the full detailed spoilers for One Piece chapter 1155, as I'll be going over every single reveal and talking about what this chapter means for the larger story of One Piece. So this week's chapter does have a color double spread where we have the Straw Hat crew walking on ladders above the roofs in the city. So the chapter does continue from where we had left off in the last one with Rocks and Loki, and we learned that Xebec is in fact a unique swordsman. He single-handedly kidnapped 5 kings during the Revery, and we know that Rocks had met Imu 8 years ago in the Revery, where he also met King Harold too, and he made it all the way to the Room of Flowers. Rocks had told Imu that he will be back, and he also told Imu that he is a fan of Davy Jones. When Rocks met Imu, he saw also Gunko, who was there, as she is the servant who serves Imu directly. Rocks and Harold were revealed to have fought during the Reverie, and the clash between them was so strong that the haki went all over the place, similar to what had happened during Roger's battle with Whitebeard. Rocks destroyed the Justice Gate, and he stole a ship with the money from the world nobles. We also learned that Rocks had fought in a Davy back fight in order to make his crew larger. He created his crew as we see 6 members with him in Elbaph, and one of them is Wang Ji, and another one is a gangster called Marlon. A few years later, when Rocks had left Elbaph, he ended up taking the pirate island under his control. So apparently the 6 members of the Rocks pirates who appeared in Elbaph are Whitebeard, the Golden Lion Shiki, Stussy, White Sea gang leader Marlon, pirate cult leader Wang Zi, and smuggler pirate Ganzui. So that was the brief spoilers that we had. Now we have the full summary spoilers. This chapter of One Piece has 17 pages, so there are 2 color pages from the color spread and 15 black and white normal pages. So the chapter is again titled The Rocks Pirates, and the color spread on the cover has the Straw Hat crew walking on a wooden ladder in order to cross from one building to another in a city. The chapter begins where the last one had ended. Loki tells Rocks that they are in Elbaph, but he said that his dad was out on an expedition. Loki was very surprised because that was the first time that he had seen tiny people. Rocks then asked Loki for his name, as he then demanded Loki to go home to call his father because he should treat Loki's wounds. Loki refused and ended up attacking him, but Rocks used his sword to counterattack. Loki says to him, "What makes you think that my dad is going to come back for something like my injuries? And how dare you order me around? You look like a weakling." The narrator says that Rocks' sword attacks are known for sending the surrounding objects flying as if it was the impact of a giant hammer or a cannon blast. Rocks laughs as he says, "Oh no, look, Loki is gravely injured." A flashback about the Reverie, which had taken place 8 years ago, then begins as soldiers at the Pangaea castle reported that 5 kings had been attacked and kidnapped by a large man dressed in black, as we then see Imu in the Room of Flowers. Imu says the lives of mere kings cannot be used as bargaining chips against him. Rocks says, "I thought as much, but the Holy Land is a mess now." We suddenly see that Rocks was sitting on the ground near Imu. He had a pistol in his hand. We also see a woman servant kneeled down next to Imu, and this woman appears to resemble Gunko, as she wore an outfit similar to that of a nun with a mask covering her mouth. Imu stared at Rocks while a very furious Rocks had threatened him. The narrator states, "Unlike anything before, and for the first time, someone had managed to get into the deepest part of the Holy Land, into the Room of Flowers." The man revealed himself as an admirer of Davy Jones, and that apparently this is all that Rocks did. He was aware that he was unable to do much here, but he didn't leave without saying a few words. Rocks had told Imu, "One day I will come back here." Rocks then found King Harold in Merijo City, where both of them had tried to escape in an epic double page. As we see that they attacked each other, the clash of their conquerors haki was similar to Roger vs Whitebeard or Luffy vs Kaido. Their swords didn't touch each other. The narrator explains that the clashing of these two strangers wiped out all who were within a 5-kilometer radius. They both introduced themselves to each other while they were fighting, and after the short clash, both had escaped together. King Harold asked Rox which way was Elbaph because he was lost. The narrator explains that despite the emergency treatment, the admiral that Rox had attacked in Merijo finally died. This resulted in the world government putting a high bounty on his head, as we see Rox's wanted poster, but we can't see his bounty number. Sometime later, Rox attacked a ship that was carrying the heavenly tribute towards Merijo, and he even destroyed a gate of justice in order to escape. So with the money and ship from the world nobles in his possession, Rox kicked off his pirate career. During the following years, pirate ships were Rox's main targets. He partook in some Davy backfight games in order to acquire new crewmates. However, Rox did not officially form his pirate crew yet, so they were just a gang of villains following Rox at this point. Now back to the present timeline of the current flashback that's going on, which is from 48 years ago. In another amazing double page, we see that Rox and his 6 crewmates were eating in Orist Castle with Harold and Loki. Loki was lying in bed with bandages on his body as Harold quickly returned from the expedition when he had heard that Loki was injured. Although Loki was almost well healed already, Harold asked him not to go again to the underworld. Loki was very happy to see his father come back for him. Rox wanted Harold to join him because he knew that the world government ignored all of Harold's requests. But King Harold refused, saying that he would lose all trust that he had earned from other nations. Then King Harold asked the crewmates of Rox why are they following him. Shiki said, "Follow who? This idiot?" He then laughs as he says, "Don't make me laugh, we are on our own. Even if Rox drops dead, it won't make a difference." Stussy says, "Exactly, but there is something about Rox's plan. It smells like a brilliant opportunity to get rich." Marlon asks, "Have you heard of Hachinozu, the Island of Exile, also known as Pirate Island? It's the island where countries used to relocate ruthless criminals that their own prisons couldn't handle." Whitebeard says, "It was supposed to be an uninhabited island without food where you just wait for your certain death." Wang Zi adds, "But in recent years, those criminals are surviving on Pirate Island and forming their own organizations. What do you think is the reason?" Ganzui states, "There were gold veins under that island. Some underground organization caught wind of that and lent the criminals a helping hand in becoming filthy rich." So we learn Ganzui the smuggler was this huge guy wearing a full armor that we saw in God Valley, and one of Moria zombies in Thriller Bark. Don Marlon is a gangster type character inspired by figures like Vito Corleone, and Wang Ji is a guy that looks strikingly similar to Karibo. Rox then asks King Harold to join him. Loki got out of bed and eavesdropped on Rox and Harold's conversation as Loki cried with emotions when he heard Rox's words. Rox says, "Come with me, Harold. Me and you together, we will be unstoppable." Harold says to him, "Stop that, I'm the king of a nation." Rox says that doesn't matter, let's take the world. Loki exclaims to himself, "The world?" The narrator states, later Loki realized that he had been saved. In the last pages of the chapter, we see several ships approaching Hachinozu as the narrator talks about what had happened 4 years later. So this is 44 years before the present time. The narrator states 4 years have passed since then, with Harold turning down Rox's invitation every single time that he had offered it. And finally, Rox's plan with his elite group of people who agree with him is about to be executed. Rox yells out to his crew, "Let's go boys," as the chapter ends with the Rox pirate flag waving for the first time. This is the end of chapter 1155, and unfortunately there is a break as there is no new One Piece chapter next week. This chapter thoroughly exceeded my expectations while going into it. Seeing Rox face off with Emu, that was something that I never thought that I was going to witness. And the fact that Rox had walked away from the encounter just shows how different the power dynamics were back then. I really love how Oda is connecting all of these dots via every single chapter that we're getting. We've got potential potential links to Beji through Don Malnon, possible family ties between Wang Ji and the Karibo brothers, and now we know exactly how Hachinozu became the pirate paradise that it is today. This information is not just random backstory details, they are puzzle pieces that are going to matter down the line. And can we appreciate how this chapter made both Rox and Harold look absolutely monstrous? That Conqueror's Haki clash wiping out everyone in a 5-kilometer radius is the kind of feat that puts them right up there with Roger and Whitebeard. It's no wonder that Loki turned out the way that he did with a father like that. I really hope that we stick with this flashback for a few more chapters, because there is so much more story to tell here clearly. We need to see how Kaido and Big Mom joined Rox, and we need that God Valley incident flashback, and honestly I want to see more of young Whitebeard and Shiki before they became legends. What are your thoughts about chapter 1155 of One Piece? Let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. If there is anything that I've forgotten to mention, then let me know. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.